This is Eric Savitz at Forbes. I'm in Tucson for the Economy Conference. With me is Steve Felice, the Chief Commercial Officer at, did I get it right, Steve? Chief Commercial Officer at Dell.
Yes.
And we're going to talk a little bit about Dell and the PC market. Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, Eric.
So, this has been a very difficult year for the PC sector. We've seen, declining unit volumes. You've seen this happen. This is not Dell's problem. This is Dell and HP's problem and all of the other players in the PC market. What's happened in 2012 that's caused this really soft period for PC sales? How much of that is cannibalization of other devices as opposed to just sort of soft IT spend? And then how does that change as we go into 2013?
Well, we believe that the majority of the issue is economic. Cannibalization has some small part to play, but the evidence of that is emerging countries where the purchase of PCs was extraordinarily robust, and then just over a couple of quarters turned to be the opposite of that. And so that doesn't sound like a technology shift to us. That really looks like it's happened right coincidentally with reductions in GDP growth in these places and a feeling that there's an overbuild of capacity. So, when you look at the PC penetration rate around the world, it's still minuscule in the most populous countries in the world. And so we still believe that there's growth left in this industry. Now, the timing of that is still hard to say. This is all going to be very tied to the economy. A lot of the useful lives of these products are going to start to get challenged. So I think it's still the best productivity tool, especially in developing parts of the world, like India and China and Indonesia and Brazil and Russia. And so it remains to be seen when the purchasing cycle will begin again, but we're pretty confident that one will happen.
So what do you think it takes to begin to see a pickup in PC volumes?
I think clarity is the most important thing right now, so people can actually make decisions. So there is a lot of ambiguity about our own policies in the U.S., but also how they affect the economy in Europe. The economy in Europe has its own set of problems. I think the more clarity there is, the better the decision making can be, especially at the small medium business. This is really where there's tremendous opportunity, not just in the PC business or in the big part of Dell's emerging business, which is now in servers and storage and networking, but also in the general growth of the economies themselves. Is SMBs getting back to being entrepreneurial, and that's being inhibited by the uncertainty about tax policies and the fiscal cliff, and I'm very hopeful now that some decisions have been made about who's in charge. We can get to the answers.
Right. So one thing that's happened to Dell, of course, over time is that you've been actively, as you said, moving the business beyond PCs into becoming a full having a full suite of enterprise software and hardware products. And you've done that in part through being fairly aggressive on the acquisition front. Is that something you expect to continue to be a part of the strategy going forward as you try and further diversify the business?
Yeah, you'll see us continue to do acquisitions. We've been pretty clear that we would do acquisitions on an annual basis, but they would typically be smaller in size and more focused on the intellectual property that we're buying to add to the portfolio, as opposed to buying large revenue streams. So, I think you've seen pretty consistent behavior from Dell like that, and you'll see that continue, and we'll fill out this mosaic of infrastructure capabilities. We now have a broad range in security and systems management and virtualization, and from virtual desktops to the data center. Now we have from Quest authentication software and management software for the data center. So we're really building a great portfolio of capabilities.
Do you see, as you add more pieces, is it focused more on other pieces of the software stack, or is it more about services?
Right now we're really focused on infrastructure. So the software, the services, and even the development we're doing on the hardware side, like the active infrastructure, we call it, where we integrate networking and storage and servers. It's all very focused on optimizing an agile infrastructure for businesses of all sizes so they can properly scale with their business.
So do you feel like you've got the scale to kind of compete head to head with the, HP, IBM, I don't know who else you want to put in that category, of companies that can offer sort of a kind of end-to-end enterprise?
Well, I think we're already showing that we're winning in this area. In the U.S. we're the #1 server company. In Asia we're the #1 server company. Our growth in enterprise solutions has been greater than the industry growth rate. It's now approaching a $20 billion business. So I think we have great differentiators because a lot of those companies you mentioned are very committed to proprietary, more expensive, classic solutions, and we're very committed to open, scalable solutions. So it's a nice way to talk to a customer about why we're different and why we're headed more in a direction where technology is headed.